Okay, we are live. Hey everyone, welcome back to the second stream. We did one last week during I forgot the name again. So it was
Valentine's Day.
my goodness. Okay, so we did a stream last week during Valentine's Day, and it was fun. Like we created an app, and that app was mostly done by our planning agent, the Code Rapids planning agent, and then we ended up just giving the prompt. And to be frank, I was surprised. Like I had never created an app faster than that. Like three three prompts, right? Prithvi? That's what it took.
Yeah, like we did it in three phases. I think we had to give a couple of extra prompts because of the build file being uploaded. But apart from that, yeah, three phases, three different stages, and we were good.
Yeah, so it was fun. I mean, I really liked it, and I have something which is coming soon. I'll not share it now. I think even Ritvi is not aware of it. Maybe Ritvi saw a little bit of teaser what is coming.
I did in
Yeah,
Slack,
yeah, yeah.
yes.
So it's now it's in actually better condition than than what you saw, and I'm really excited to finish it and maybe announce it broadly. So let's see, and because that's the one app. I mean, this is again a teaser, uh, just to share. Like I wanted to build this app for a long time, even though even before I started working at CodeRabbit, and I was like not getting enough time because life happens. A lot of things were going on. I had a full-time job where I had to do lot of different stuff. At the end you have to buy groceries at your home. So so I was doing that, and then I was like, okay, let's do this stuff. I mean, now I have time, and again, code rapid planning agent. It is making me so I would say addictive writing code because it's just too much addictive, to be frank.
It
So
is
last,
so good. It is actually
hmm.
very good.
Oh
And the best part is, unlike normal agents, answer it. Expect you to give it like a basic framework about. So if you have an empty repo, it won't work. I found
yeah,
out the hard way.
yeah. That's why I think last time when we created this demo, no, not the demo, but a small empty app, React starter app, which was really helpful to like build faster. So yeah, I mean, go ahead and give it a try if you haven't tried it yet. So for OSS, it's free. If you are already using CodeRabbit, it's in beta. You can just ask for the access and try it out. But yeah, that's we are going to do something different now onwards. So today we are going to do our first stream where we will learn Angular, and we will do it on live stream. So the idea is, of course, we will start. Today is the first session, so we will start with maybe setting up a project because that's the first thing which you do, right? I mean, setting up a new project, isn't it, Ritvik?
I mean, you're supposed to, but a lot of times, people might have get pushed dash dash force. So
Yeah,
let's not do
but
that. Let's not do that.
yeah, but like a lot of, I mean, this is also true that not many developers who work in enterprises gets to do everything from scratch. I've seen, like, of course, when you join an organization, you are not supposed to do everything from scratch. You already have a setup. You just go ahead and add your feature or maybe a bug fix or something to your existing code base. So that's why, like, we wanted to start really from scratch where you have nothing. Like, we don't have anything right now. Last time we at least had a React starter app, and now today it's yeah, we just have a terminal. Let me share my screen. So let's go. So basically, how you start from nothing and end up building an app. I just need to share. Where is that? Yeah. Hopefully, you can see my terminal now. So
Yes, we
yeah,
can.
and let's see if it's big enough. Is it visible? The text?
Yes, it is. I think I still would make it slightly bigger though.
Is
Just
it?
a
Okay,
tad.
cool. Now,
Perfect. This is awesome. Yes.
yeah. So as I said, like we have nothing, and we will start from here. And let me just move some of the windows which I don't want here. So let me stop sharing, and then I'll share it again. And Uh, hmm, let's go. And because this is uh, big enough, screen to share. That's okay. So I have just an terminal running here, which where you can see the code, and a browser which we need to do some research, like old days, right? Like because if you remember my tweet and post has I posted that we will be coding like a psychopath, like in 90s, maybe not 90s, but early 2000 or maybe 5 years ago, where we had nothing, right? We just want to start
Yeah,
coding.
I like how we went from 90s to 5 years ago.
Oh my god! Like really, like the AI has improved so much in like last 5 years, or maybe developer experience. I would say have improved a lot. Yesterday, I was doing a PR for one of the open source repositories, and I like there was a small change, right? So I just wanted to make some configuration changes, and I was able to do it in 5 minutes. And then I remembered like my first PR, which took me maybe maybe 2 days to set up everything and then raise a PR. And I was like, wow, 5 minutes and 2 days. Like this is uh, how productive we are right now. And that's the reason you see a lot of code being pushed on GitHub, especially the AI slops. But yeah,
That's
we
what
are
we
not
said. Yes. Exciting.
cool. So as I said, as we mentioned in the stream, so we will be learning Angular. And for Angular, of course, there are two ways. You can actually start from Angular project. Angular has its own CLI, but I generally recommend using Nx. And uh, because there is a reason. Because I have been working on enterprises for quite a long time, 17 years actually. So I have done migrations for many clients two mono-repos, especially using Nx. And my last job was actually to just do this, just to manage the mono-repo and grow our mono-repo. A perfect tool for any technology, just not Angular. Preeti, you have any experience with Nx?
I don't actually. I was actually going to ask
Hmm.
you more about it.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting tool. It's a tool now. It's a some so a lot of people consider it as a mono-repo tool, but it's more of a build tool. You see, it says smart repos and fast builds, right? So in older days when .NET and Java, like a lot of people used to early 2010s 10 time, right? Many people were actually writing mostly Java and .NET, and the concept of monorepos were pretty popular in those days because when you write Java code, all of your projects related to your main project is actually inside the same repository. It's not like where you keep your projects in a separate repository. So, as a concept, monorepo is nothing something new, but they had bad name, because now you have to build that code. So, back in early 2000, people used to actually do something called as nightly builds. I'm sure like this is something which everyone might have heard about nightly builds.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. Do you know from where the name came in?
No, I actually don't. I was just about to look it up. Chat GPT, actually.
So I'm sure, like, because we have done this. I was a .NET developer for a long time, so I worked like for 5 years in a startup, which was mostly .NET shop. And what we used to do is because our project was so big, we cannot build it every time and every few hours as we do now. So whenever we have to release something, what we used to do is we used to build it nightly, at the night, like 3 a.m., 2 a.m., when there is nobody, possibly no customer who is looking at our website. So, and then deploy it. And most of the deployments used to happen on weekends. I'm sure like it's still the case with some of the projects, maybe, but not very common.
Oh,
So now people have moved on. They just deploy. Some companies actually deploy every hour, and uh,
that that sounds actually quite safe with the amount. We'd rather commit and deploy faster than deploy after a big chunk, especially with the amount of code you're pushing, right?
It may sound like maybe safe, but it is not. You know,
Oh, really?
now
Oh,
people talk about like ship faster and fail faster. So if you
yeah.
shift more, it's like you will get the instant feedback. Okay, something goes wrong, you can roll back. Just think about like merging code for 2 weeks or a month, and then everyone comes together to ship their feature, and someone figures out someone has overwritten their code. Yeah, happens and have happened. Like this is something from my own experience where I'm doing a release and then I realized, oh, my code is not there. Why? And then I realized that other developer who got conflict just decided, oh, this code is not needed. Oh, Santosh can survive without this code. So and then
Insane.
this is, oh my god, I have so many stories, funny stories from my back in my days. Oh, hmm.
That is actually crazy though. So wait, how can they do that? Like, how can they just randomly get a chunk of code out? Like, there must be some mechanism to be foolproof, right? Or there wasn't any.
I mean, so look, GitHub is now very intuitive, right? You can see your
Yeah.
differences, and then maybe now I think code merging conflicts have become much better. But in those days, we used to use TFS, Microsoft TFS, so Team Foundation Server it is called.
I
So
have
it's
never heard
like
of
where
that.
you, yeah, but we do support TFS. We have our Microsoft TFS or Team Foundation Server support as well. And then, it was not that intuitive, like how the code conflict or merge conflict works. So it used to happen
We
actually. Sorry.
That's the Azure DevOps, right? That's what you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, Azure. Now it's renamed to Azure DevOps. Yeah, but in old like early 2010s, there used to be called TFS. TFS was similar as GitHub, but not that good. No, really not that good. Glad Microsoft purchased GitHub. Sorry, sorry, people at Microsoft, but yeah, nothing against TFS. I just never liked it. So I mean, yeah, overwriting code was way common actually. Then because the merge thing, like when you resolve the conflict, it was not so intuitive, and you will never know that, oh, someone actually overwrote my code until unless you try to actually run that feature again or access that feature somewhere, right? So it was bad. It was really bad. So people used to, of course, do that, and then now a lot of people at that time actually started moving away from monorepos. So with the introduction of this front, JavaScript frameworks, people started splitting their front end from the back end. They said, "Oh, now it's possible, right?" Because in our older days, when we were writing Java or .NET, where everything is actually clubbed together, where you have your front end written in .NET or Java, your back end is .NET or Java. The pretty popular where you have you heard about JSP, Java
About?
server page, Java server pages.
I have heard of it,
Yeah.
yes, but I don't know much about it. I
As
definitely have heard of
someone was telling me they still teach. No, no, no. It was about VB, right? Last time you said you learned it in the school. Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Correct.
So it's like something around the same time, like for after VB, JSP, ASP, ASPX. Those were very pretty popular. So I was doing a lot of ASPX that time, and then it used to be part of your entire code base. You cannot split it. So with introduction of JavaScript frameworks, people started realizing, oh, now I can just build my framework like front end separately, back end separately. I can just keep this on two different repos. So I don't have to build if I'm doing something on front end. I don't have to build the entire back end. And then people realize now I have 40 projects where there are 30 front end, 10 back end, and I'm building everything because there are some changes which is needed in your backend. You build, deploy your backend. You make changes to front end. You build and deploy it again. So a lot of compute which was like being vested here, because if there is nothing which where I don't need to build anything in the backend because something has changed in the front end, I'm still like sometime doing that whole cycle, especially in case where my maybe let's say my backend has some new APIs to expose. And out of 30, let's say 10 of my front end depends upon that backend. So what I have to do is I have to build and deploy that backend to all those 10 front ends. Very common scenario, right? I mean, of course, you need to do that, otherwise, something will break. So it started becoming a mess. And even though in Angular also, right? So in Angular, if you see the backends which are pretty popular is Java and .NET. Still, of course,
Oh, wow.
enterprises use Java and .NET. I mean, now a lot of people are introducing Go, Python, based on maybe based on the development stack, or maybe the people who are more comfortable doing new stacks. But you will not find maybe a lot of Node.js. Still very small.
Very interesting. That is actually very cool. I did not know there was so much .NET being used with a JavaScript framework.
Yeah, it's a big number. But so around 2000, two people, or two developers from Angular team decided to do this. So they decided to build NX, where they were trying to solve this issue with monorepos, where once your monorepo becomes too big, your build times just grows. Because what happens when you add code, you have to build, and if you add more code, it means you need to wait for more time, right? Because that code needs to be built. So if you add more feature, you just keep waiting and waiting for your CI to finish. By 2020, I think we had already good build tools, like, I mean, especially CI. GitHub Action was already there. We have Jenkins, you have GitLab having their own CI/CD pipeline. So everyone, that problem was almost solved, right? CI/CD pipeline, which never existed before, maybe early 2010 was like, it was not that much accessible, I would say. uh, CI/CD pipeline became more known, or maybe more accessible, after GitHub actually launched GitHub Actions. So because I don't
Oh,
remember
interesting.
using, yeah, I mean, because before that, I think Jenkins had their free open source plan. I'm sure like a lot of people who were doing open source in early 2012, 15 time, they remember. So Jenkins had their free Oasis plan, which they stopped because it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it, and it says that Jenkins was one initially offered around mid 2000s along with Cruise Control, and it used to then be called Hudson. And then in 2010, CI as a cloud service evolved. I think that was also the era when everything was going on clouds and services were popping up.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And then it took some time. I mean, I'm not sure, like, even in that case, it was pretty popular in India.
Yeah, it says Travis CI was one of the first CI as a service
Yeah,
platform.
Travis CI, right? Yeah.
So,
I remember some projects using Travis CI. I think still a little, there are projects who use it. So Jenkins and Travis CI, I think they were one of them, I think, was pretty popular in open source because it used.
yeah, so Hudson got renamed to Jenkins, is what you're
Okay.
saying. Yeah.
So of course, like, then Anix decided to solve this issue, but they launched it for Angular. And they said, okay, let's do it for Angular, because of course both the founders were Angular developers. So what it does is, basically, when you create a project, you need to build it, and once you build again, most of the things actually comes from the cache. So if you haven't made any changes and you build your project again, what will happen is you will get instant and faster builds. If you have monorepo, like with multiple projects, where you made a change to one project, all other projects will be just taken from the cache, and you don't pay the price for them, right? I mean, you don't have to wait, so you can ship more code. I think that's the same problem we are trying to solve with CodeRabbit, right? Where we are not wasting much time discussing about common patterns, maybe standard practices. You're focusing more on shipping your code. I mean, you get, as soon as you get open a PR, you get like a lot of feedback already from CodeRabbit, and then you can just work on it, finish your work, should give it to your senior engineer, and then there is limited amount of maybe discussion which is needed to finally merge your PR. So similarly, You don't have to maybe wait for an hour to for like building your entire mono-repo if you have just made a change in a smaller project which takes 2 minutes to build. So that's the whole story. And let's go ahead and see how we can actually create a new project.
Yes, very cool. I'm very excited. I'm going to try and follow along. So, folks, if y'all are following along, let me know. I'll probably be getting stuck in the same places as you. So, ask questions.
Yeah, cool. So me and Ritu were discussing like what should we build. So we decided maybe we can build a project where the scope is bigger, so we can actually do the streams in multiple on multiple days, right? And then we learn something new every other stream. So we decided why not to take example where we built an hotel management app where like you have an admin screen where you can add maybe rooms, you can book, you can add multiple hotels, you can maybe decide the pricing, maybe discount code. So the huge, I mean, if I just mention hotel management, it itself says, oh, it's going to be big, right? So we'll try to create that. And today we will focus more on just the installation, like how you set up your new project, how you add a new Angular project, what are the configurations there, what are different configurations available when you create a new project, and that's what we'll do today.
Awesome. Sounds so much fun. Yeah, folks, and if y'all are joining and trying to follow along, ask questions, we're more than happy to take a break and answer them.
Oh, yeah. Let me know if there's any questions in the Slack, which sorry, in the chat, which needs my attention. So uh, let's start with the installation, right? So there are like, of course, there is a global installation, which I generally don't do. I mean, I don't like to install Linux globally because they keep updating. I mean, if there is a new release, I have to go ahead and update it. Same, yeah,
Isn't it a good practice never to install stuff globally
yeah.
anyway? Is there any time to make an exception for getting global installations?
Mm, I would recommend not to do that because it creates an issue in case you are working with multiple repositories where maybe you need different versions of NX. So in that case, it becomes a problem, and then NX is something which you can always trigger using npx command anyway. So you can always say npx and just run NX any. So I would never recommend it. I mean, until unless you think there is no use case where you have to shuffle between multiple repositories, maybe with different NX version.
So
Otherwise,
I've been wondering this for quite some time. I think I'll chat GPT it while we talk. Why do global installations exist? When do you think it's useful to have a global installation? Because
oh,
most days I've seen when it comes to Python or NPX, we want to isolate it per project, right?
yeah.
With the million dependencies we end up using per project.
I think one use case I can think of is maybe just the ability to run this command script from anywhere, because otherwise I have to go ahead and install it in each and every repository. And if I have installed it globally, I can run it from anywhere. Like if I go to new project, I can just do NX, whatever command I want to run. I don't have
Makes
to
sense.
rely on. So that's, yeah. Apart from that, I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah, that makes
mm,
perfect sense. I think especially because if you want to like invoke it from any project, makes sense.
yeah. So let's see. There is a documentation for Angular, React, and everything. So I can just go ahead and say, okay, I'll just use the overview of NX Angular plugin. So this is something which is available. Angular introduction. So and then how you can do the migration and everything. But we'll start from the scratch. So first, let's go and see like how we can start with simple installation using NX. So npx, this is installed in a repository, update nx, uh, how to do a workspace. So as I said, like I'll be going through the documentation. So metadata, installing nx, and
Old school Gopal.
okay. So if you want to actually run this on an existing repository, you can go with this nx latest init, and it will do that. But I have one project, command for creating a new workspace. yeah, hit this one. So start a new project, and you can actually run this command npx. I'll just zoom in so it's visible. So it's actually start a new project page, and I was looking at the installation, which we don't need. So I can run this command, create an X workspace at latest. So it will take latest version of whatever things is available, and it says, okay, where would you like to create your workspace? I'll say, okay, this is my hotel uh, management org, and what kind of project you need. So NX comes, with like some default support for some of the projects. For example, this is like an empty mono-repo. You can start with an empty thing, or React, or you can choose Angular, which we are going to do. You can also do just a normal mono-repo with npm packages, where you can just have it's widely used by open source developers who have multiple projects which they can publish on npm. And then you can also have custom if you have any other framework. So I'll just go with Angular. So it says, okay, which starter do you want to use? It says Narwhal Angular template, and it's now installing all the packages for me. And if I go to the folder, probably that might already be available. So let's go to the VS Code, and I'll zoom in a little bit, and let's open. So yeah, it's already there, right? So you see there are some default files which are already created. So you have setting for codex cursor, because it's everywhere, right? So everyone needs this file, so it's actually configured by default. You have cloud.md and agents.md. God knows why cloud said, okay, we will not follow agents.md. It's still an
And then you also have skills.md for the same people. It is lovely how many MD files are getting us to create.
yeah. So people used to create maybe a config file, like we were fighting with JSON files previously. Now we are fighting with MD files. Okay, so but yeah, but this doesn't make any sense. Ritvi, what's the fun part and most surprising part? There is no change in between those two files. See,
Sounds about right.
there is nothing. I mean, that's the only difference is cloud said we will not follow the standard followed by agents.md.
I mean, when you think about it, it's a great marketing technique, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I really loved what GitHub did, right? So GitHub actually, they started with their GitHub instructions.md. Then they said, oh no, but people are migrating, right? People want a single file which can be used by everyone. And they said, oh, okay, we will go ahead and support agents.md, which made developers' life easier. I think that sometimes you have to listen to the developers rather than marketing people.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
Regardless, great marketing.
So, sorry, your voice breaks. Sorry.
I think regardless, great marketing play, right? Like everyone knows this project uses Claude at this point.
Yeah, and it's irony that we both belong to a marketing umbrella, like, and we're talking about,
Yeah.
okay, don't listen to market. Okay, hope Arvind is not watching the stream. Okay, cool. So Punyapal says, okay, I have enough credits. Good question. Oh, see, I have actually exhausted my 50% of premium request. Because yeah, some this is my secret project which is being worked on, so I'm using a lot of credits there. But yeah, anyways, it's done. Okay, it's done. So it says, okay, your workspace is ready. Could not initialize git repository. That's absolutely fine. I can do it later on. And it also did one more thing. It says, okay, you have NX Cloud, which we'll talk about, because NX Cloud is very, very cool, and I use it because I also get it for free, so I can try it on my all open source projects. And yeah, let's talk about that later. But let's go ahead and see what are the files which are created. So generally, when you create a project, what you have as a front end engineer, right? What are the files which you create? So you will have an app, of course, right? So these are your apps. So it says, okay, there is an API folder where you can have your APIs. You see, this is just a sorry, Express project, right? Which where you may want to write your APIs, and it's a simple project which contains, yeah, it uses ES build and TypeScript, so you can write your APIs here, API endpoints here. It uses Vite config, and that's it. So there's nothing else inside API. There is a shop, and if you see the shop, it's an Angular project. Now, how do I know this is an Angular project? By looking at project.json basically. So if you go to any existing NX repository, the most important file is project.json. So project.json is where you define like what tool you will be using to build this project, or maybe what tool you will be using to run linting on this project. You can choose from existing ones as well as you can bring your own. So, Prithvi, you said you were trying to say something?
No, no, no. I'm just waiting for my build to finish. I don't know, for some reason it's taking a longer time for my template.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So here you see like it says in project.json for shop, it says, okay, this is using Angular build. So it means it's an Angular project. And there are few more configuration we can look at. One is serve. So it says, okay, I'll be using Angular build dev server to serve. There's the extract IITN, which is different, but there is a linter where we are using ESLint. And interesting thing, right? So when you use or when you try to set all these things on your own, you have to do a lot of manual configuration. You have to have maybe bring this not repository, but bring this package, bring that package, write all the configuration. With NX, you get all this configuration out of the box, so I don't have to do anything. I mean, I'm just I said, okay, just go ahead and use this, and by default, it created me added a linter. If you see, this is your ESLint file, and there are already some configuration available here, but this is not the interesting part. The interesting part is there is already a default config with maybe some standard rules which can be shared in multiple projects. So let's say if you create a new project, you don't have to set this up from scratch. So let's say if you decide maybe in my entire repository, I want to enforce a rule saying there should not be any unused import. Very common configuration. I think if you are using JavaScript, I think this is very common ESLint rule which exists where you say, okay, do not have any unused import. Now, if you create 10 projects, you don't want to actually add that setting into every project which you create. So you can actually just define them into your root config and it gets applied everywhere because that's the standard. And whenever someone new in your team joins in, they don't have to worry about all this default configuration because you already did once. And it also saves you a lot of time in case you are the one who is managing this entire mono-repo. You just need to work on a single file to enforce some rule or just to disable some rule. So very nice feature. I loved using it. Uh, okay, so we have ESLint configuration available here. It uses Vite. Now Angular also uses Vite. Yeah. Angular is advanced framework, very ahead of time now. They are doing some amazing stuff. So there you
I think
go.
you might
You
be biased, Santosh,
sorry,
though.
sorry.
You might be a little biased.
No, no, no. I think Angular is the best framework. Sorry.
There we go.
Yes, yes. Okay, cool. So now Angular has started using vtest. So you say not an Angular, but this is like NX also provides vtest support. So that's why this vite config exists actually. So you see this reports directory and this executor vtest. So you can write your test using vtest now. And internally, I mean, I'll talk a little bit about Angular internals. So now internally, it uses ES build plus Vite both. So it's not only Vite, but with the with ES build, right? And if you know, ES build is also like managed by the same team which works on build. So this is one configuration we spoke about, but there is again one file called tsconfig.json. Now, when you are setting a monorepo, multiple projects, there might be some configuration which is common to everything, like common to all projects. Here again, the Annex actually offers a base JSON where you can define some common configuration which can be applied to entire one repo. So here it says, okay, go ahead and use this module, go ahead and use this target, source map, root directory, all this common configuration can be moved to your root configuration. And then it also says, okay, to exclude these files, node modules, tmp, of course, this is very common. And this is again, zero config. I did nothing. I just got this file. I don't have to worry much about it. What else? It also has a proxy config. So, the advantage of having a proxy config is whenever you run your front end and back end, all the calls which you start with /org/API will be redirected to this host. I mean, maybe we can see some examples once we start writing code. And inside app folder, generally Angular follows this structure where they have an entry point. So this is my main.ts, which is my entry point. So this is where the Angular application bootstraps. And let me see. Yeah. So this is where my Angular application bootstraps as every other framework, right? So every other framework has to bootstrap. So that goes into your main.ts file. There is, as I'm using SSR, server-side rendering, it also has something known as server.ts, where you can define your APIs if you want. I mean, yes, you can also write your APIs. If there is an example added by Angular team, which says, okay, you can start writing your API here, and it will be handled by your front end. So let me add Rithi back. Yeah. So, and then there is a main.server.ts file. This is to bootstrap your server-side code. So this is how generally it works on the server-side rendering. So server.ts where you define your routes, server.ts which bootstraps your server-side application, and main.ts which is used by your front-end application or maybe to bootstrap your front-end. And then app, you will not find much of a code. There is a spec.ts which is for writing your test. But the most important file is your app.ts. So app.ts is your root component. Whenever you work with any front-end framework, you generally talk about components. What are components? Anyone? What is component?
Oh, is there like a proper technical definition? But I want to say reusable parts of code that I want to render across my entire website.
Exactly. So I love to define it as maybe an HTML template or HTML tag. So a component for me is an HTML tag, which I can render anywhere I want to. So this is where we are actually defining that. We are saying, okay, this is my main root component or main HTML tag under which I will render whatever I want in future. Simplify. And then if you're wondering where it is being used, you can go to main.ts and you will find, oh, okay, this is app.ts and it's being used here on main.ts. So if I just move, yeah. So you can see this is,
Santosh, sorry to interrupt,
yeah,
but can we make the font size a little bigger on the code as well? Just a tad.
this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Folks,
Yeah,
if
I
y'all want
mean,
bigger, yeah, let us know.
yeah, I'll just maybe, okay, I don't know. Just make it smaller maybe, or I can remove it, show view by default, or okay, because I'm not going to use this much anyways. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it feels good to see an agent. Yeah,
You know that there's a backup available in case things fail.
yeah, exactly. If there is an error, I can just ask my agent, tell me why I'm uh, having this error. But yeah, this is my root component, and now with Angular, you get class-based component. I'm sure like a lot of developers who are writing React or any other framework, they're like, oh wow, this is class. I mean, I'm not used to this, but this is not very complex, to be frank. And this is why I actually started writing Angular code. There is an interesting story. So in 2016, sorry, not 2016, actually 2014, 15, 2014, 15, I think I came across Angular JS. I know I was very late, but yeah, I was mostly writing ASPX pages or MVC pages, or Razor pages as we used to call it. I would still call it as Razor pages in .NET. And then my friend introduced me to AngularJS, which is old framework, which is discontinued by Google. It's not supported anymore, and
Oh,
it was like mostly JavaScript. So me being .NET developer, I never liked it. I mean, I used to hate whenever I used to get like, oh, cannot read property of undefined. Very common error. Just go and search on Stack Overflow. You will find hundreds of thousands of errors. Maybe not hundred, but thousands of it. So in 2017, actually, I came across Angular, and I was like, when I started a new project, because Angular 4 also introduced something known as Angular CLI, and the entire project was ready. Like, I can just start writing code. That's the only thing which I had to do. So someone who has to do all the setup, worry about my configuration file, worry about my webpack file, and suddenly I don't have to do anything. And on top of it, Angular was the first framework to support TypeScript. I'm not sure like how many people know this, but this is very interesting story. TypeScript exists because Angular
oh,
decided to take a leap of faith on the TypeScript team. So when Angular team decided that they will use TypeScript, a lot of people moved on and said they will never use TypeScript. And those developers were React developers.
you mean JavaScript developers?
Whatever. Yeah, but I just don't want to uh, pick up any specific community. But yeah, a lot of developers actually moved on to React because they said, "Oh, I love writing JavaScript." Yes, and now we know, like after 10 years, what everyone is doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to get a JavaScript
Again,
developer and TypeScript developer here next time on the stream.
yeah, yeah, and again, I love React community. I have a lot of friends there, so and don't find me at React Miami. I'm not coming there. You can find Rithvi there. So okay, but I, oh my god,
Yes,
I'm going to
yes, you
make.
will find it there, y'all.
Okay, so then I saw this class, and in world of .NET and also Java, this thing which you see here, it's at that component, which is known as decorators. It was pretty like popular. Like it's still being used. If you open a .NET code or Java code, you will always find some patterns like this. And me coming from .NET world, I was like, wow, I know this. I don't have to invest much time thinking about what this code means. I know this is a decorator. And then I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for probably next few years. And so this is what it does basically is it adds some extra information to this class. In simple terms, this is what it does. And what is those extra information is what you define using these properties. So the selector is nothing but your HTML tag. So when you want to render a HTML component, what you need an HTML selector, right? For example, a div, a table, or maybe a button. So the selector is the same. Then when you render an HTML tag, there needs to be something to render. This is where the template URL comes into picture. So if I go to template URL, this one, sorry, you will find some HTML. So this has header and footer, nothing else. And then you need some styling. So you can define your styling in a different file. This is a little bit advanced, so we will talk about it later. So we'll not invest much time in discussing this. But this is how your seeing small or maybe a simple component looks like. This is your component. So every component will have a template, styling, maybe selector. This is something which may be optional. Depends where you're using it. And then you need to define some routes, right? So you can define your routes in app.route.ts. Don't worry much about this configuration. You can just think about paths right now, because when you try to access this path, something needs to be loaded, and what needs to be loaded is configured here. And we will talk about this configuration later on, but this is what we define here. And then you can also define server side paths, in case you're doing pre-rendering. So you see there is an option to pre-render. This is something which you can just do it on server when requested. So you can define all this configuration for your server side routes. Apart from this, you have some configuration here again, and there is some configuration for your server. Let's see this file, appconfig.ts, and we'll talk about it, right? So provide client hydration. This is again a concept which is related to server-side rendering. I'm sure like a lot of people who have been working on React or maybe 10 stack know about hydration. Did you have you heard about
No,
hydration part? Oh,
I
okay.
haven't.
Okay, maybe we can once we start, or yeah, once we go forward, we will talk about hydration as well. It's just a very interesting concept. But in simple terms, right? Have you seen any website where once you log into this website, you see a flicker? You see there is style which is not doesn't look like looks weird or not loaded, and then suddenly you have a very nice looking website.
Yeah, makes sense. I have seen that.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's something where hydration concept comes into the picture. So it's like there is some re-rendering, or maybe repent which is required between when server is sending the data and when client is actually trying to make it interactive. So this is where the concept of hydration comes into picture. Very important in case you are a front-end developer now, who is also handling a website or working on a website which is server-side rendered. But yeah, we'll go more in detail.
Interesting.
Yeah. So and then you can of course have your global error defined, which is default now from Angular team or Angular APIs. So if there is any errors, it will be captured by this new API which is introduced. So these are nothing but the APIs provided by Angular. Some of them are pre-configured, some of them you might not need, some of them are something which you can use as you move forward. Like there are more APIs, but this is the default one, which is minimum, maybe not even minimum. I think if you don't need routing, you can actually just throw this away, because if you have a single page and there
Hmm.
is no routing, why should you have routing? You can throw this away.
Okay.
So depends. But most of the people are maybe now working on an app which has multiple routes. And this is for providing HTTP client. We will talk about it once we move, maybe once we start writing more code. But this is your configuration. This is something which will be used by mostly your front end code. And there is a different config which will be used by your server. So it says, okay, I'll go ahead and merge the config. This is where both the config front end and server side config is actually merged here. You see, again, I can just navigate to this. Hey, Logan. So both the configs are merged, and yeah, at the end, it will be given to your web page, which is served. And this is your provide server side rendering, where you are providing the routes for server side, which we saw. These are two server side routes which are defined in my code base so far. So nothing much. I mean, believe me, there used to be many more files when Angular was early in the days, right? And Angular team is trying to reduce this friction of learning a new framework, because many developers, I'm sure like you most can relate to it, many developers actually don't start with a framework, right? They start from maybe basic HTML, CSS. And when they come to Angular world, suddenly things are different. Oh, wow. So Angular team is trying to align with the standards now. So number of files is reduced. Even though I know a lot of my Angular friends can agree to this, the file naming convention could have been better, and it was better earlier. And I'm not going to talk about like what was there before. But yeah, this is what we have now. So you see app.html, app.ts, app.css, yeah, whatever. So this is the file you have. Public, I don't know. I'm sure everyone knows what public means. It's where you keep your fav icon. Maybe you can also keep some of the assets if you like. And this will be part of your build once you build your application. So this is an Angular app. Maybe we can serve this and see like how it looks like. So I'll just go to NX console. I mean, look, I love to maybe use commands, but I also love to use the GUI as much as possible because learning new commands, of course, takes time. And just to show it on the stream, so I'll just go ahead and select my project. So you can just install something known as NX console if you don't want to maybe worry much about this new commands or learning new commands. This is one thing which also NX makes it easier, that they have some standard set of commands for every project. So if I say, okay, I want to run a project, I can say run, select the project. For example, in our case, shop, I can say what task I want to run on this project. So let's say in this case, I want to serve this project. So we can see it. And I can say, okay, just run serve. I hope there's nothing which breaks because we haven't done anything. Yeah.
Is it called shop or is it called hotel management?
It's shop because this is the default template. We will remove all this. This is not we are
Okay,
going to
got
use. Yeah.
that makes
So
sense. I was very confused for a second. Yeah. Oh, very cool.
yeah, so this is default one, right? So it created a new simple app for us to maybe play around, see what are the different features in this project or maybe sample project. And yeah, so this is what you do. So whenever you want to run any task, you can just go to NX console, say run, select the project, serve, build. If you want to run lint, if you want to run test, you can just run those tasks. So in NX, I mean, generally you call it commands. Like in NX, we call it as a task, or you can actually call it as a commands as well. It's actually given as common NX commands, and using those commands, you can execute any task. And the task which we did right now is serve. So yep. So this is how your front end looks like. I'm sure like this is all available inside your configuration. So if I go to app.ts, so this is the product feature which is being loaded, and this is where your product list and everything is coming from. We'll talk about the concept of libraries as we move on, but for now, all good. We know a little bit about how to create a simple new Angular project and how you can serve that project and see it on the UI. So
Very exciting. I think I love the fact that we're going into the details of setting a project up. Like people miss out on so many tiny details and nuances when you create a project. Like I've been taking notes all along. I have everything commented on my code, whatever you've been saying. So I'm very excited. I think I'll start pushing once we set up the GitHub repo. Next time, I think I'll keep pushing mine so y'all can see all the comments. As Santosh says, I'll be taking a note of that, so you'll have one project with everything saved.
oh, nice, cool. So we'll talk about this project and then maybe we add our own project, which will be hotel management project, right? Which we'll be using and writing more code with. So I mean, enterprises, something which is taken very seriously is testing, right? I hope it is taken seriously. So, uh, and I have seen like most value in writing end-to-end test. So when I talk about end-to-end test, I'm talking about like real test which you run in browser, right? Where you can go ahead and interact as your users do. Generally, yeah, unit test. I don't know. I mean, they're useful, but I'm not sure like they add as much as value are end-to-end testers, because in end-to-end test you also test it against maybe a real backend or maybe a mock, which is aligned with your actual database. So how you add a new framework or maybe a new end-to-end project to your front end. Again, a tedious task. Believe me, if you have to set up everything using nothing, you have to start from a scratch. It will be a big task. But with NX, you can just add end-to-end project without doing anything much, and it's already actually added here. So if you see, there is something called shop E2E. Why does it look similar to shop? Because it's an end-to-end project for this particular project.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah, and I did nothing. I mean, I even didn't ask because it's included in the default setup.
That is actually very cool.
And it says, okay, this is my playwright config, and it uses playwright. So NX always tries to see like where industry is going with. For example, V test. Lot of developers were moving away from just to VTest, and then NX team said, yeah, we'll just add the setup or maybe the default setup whenever someone adds a new project, so they can use VTest. And same with Playwright, right? So there was a time industry was using Cypress. So Cypress was the default one. Then they realized now people are moving to Playwright. So Playwright became default one. But there is still an way you can use Cypress as well. So it's not like you don't, if you don't like Playwright, you have to still go ahead and use it. It's not the case. You can bring Cypress, Playwright. Similarly for unit testing, right? It's not the case that you should be using VTest. Maybe you want to just go ahead and use uh, just, yeah, there is still configuration available. You can do that, and we will talk about like how you can do that when you start a new project. But for now, our end-to-end test is ready. It says, okay, whenever you serve this application, I will listen to this port, and I will just run it. You can define the browsers as well, and tsconfig for this project. And this is the code, some of the code which is written here. So it says, okay, when I go to product, this is what the test suite looks like. And similarly, product detail. So this is, so all the existing code base. So you have some example tests to go through.
That is very cool too. Like having basic
Yeah.
tests. Yes.
Actually helps a lot, right? Because whenever I'm starting a new project, of course I'll be lost like what I need to do. And if you have some default templates to go through, like how your test should look like, how your maybe the component should look like, it helps you a lot. So you can follow the same. And this is done. And let's see. So maybe what we can do is we'll talk about libs, not right now. Maybe once we move ahead, maybe on next stream. For now, what we can do is we can create a project, a new project, which we will be using, and then push it to GitHub repository. And yeah, so let's see how we can create a new project. Again, you can do it using command line if you like to use command line, or just use the NX console, right? Why should you be worried about another CLI tool to explore, or maybe more commands to explore? So NX provides a command called generate. So I can say generate, and I'll say, okay, what I need is I need an application. So it gives you some option. It says, okay, you can go ahead and create a new Angular application. So you can look at the description basically. So it says NX Angular, it creates a new Angular application. If you need a node application, you can do that. If you need a web application, what you mean by web application is static HTML thing, right?
Ooh,
So yeah,
very
you can do
interesting.
that. You can also do React, by the way. So yeah, yeah, but as you know,
Yeah.
I love Angular.
It's not important, but it supports it anyway. So in case y'all are still into the, I got it, Santosh. Thank you.
Yeah, so okay, let's go ahead and do that. So I'll go ahead and say, okay, let's create a new Angular application. And you get a nice form which says, okay, give me some details where you want to actually go ahead and create this form or this application. So it says, okay, the directory of the new application. So I'll say, okay, this is hotel management. Okay, so this is where the project will be created. So inside, I won't be creating inside apps or libs. I'll be creating inside in the root, or maybe let's follow the same pattern. I can say, okay, go ahead and create it inside apps, hotel management. And NX provides something known as dry run. So dry run means It's not actually going to create these files, but it will show you how the project structure looks like. Because in mono-repo, where maybe there are 10 different teams who are collaborating together and you want to create a new app, and it might not be a good idea to just dump your project on the root. So before you go ahead and create your project, you can see, okay, where this project will be created. So in my case, it says, because I said, okay, use the directory as apps slash, where is that? One second. So apps slash hotel management. So it is saying, okay, once you want to execute this project, I will go ahead and create a folder called apps hotel management and dump all the files there. Again, I don't have to create these files manually. This is by default. It tells me, it actually is asking me like what kind of bundler you want to use. Remember, there are three options: ESBuild, RSPack, Webpack. I will suggest you to go ahead and use ESBuild. RSPack is good. Uh, I think mostly if people are using model federation or micro frontends, RSpec is nice. I'm not fully onboarded, to be frank. I have I think going ahead with ESBuild, because this is something what is supported by Angular by default, is the safest option, I would say. But you can experiment with RSpec. It's fast. Yes, it is fast. And then it says what will be the name of the application. I'll say, okay, this is hotel management app, or maybe just keep it as hotel management. It doesn't matter. Or maybe we can, yeah, let's keep it hotel management. So the same name as your application folder name, right? And then it says, do you need a routing? In our case, yes, we do need a routing, because you will be having multiple pages, and we need routing. And then it says, do you want a standalone component, which is default. So I'll talk more about standalone component in case you haven't, you're doing Angular after a long time, or if you already know standalone component and you don't know what used to exist before, you are amazing. Okay, so
Quick question,
now,
Santosh. What was
yeah,
the command for starting this new project?
for starting new project, I mean, I just use the UI.
What was it called still in the UI?
So you can install NX console. So
I got the console. But is there like also a command? So like a CTRL Shift P for the NX
yeah,
project?
yeah, of course you can do that. So you can run the commands. For example, you can actually NX console generate, and then you can also do it from here. So you can control
That
shift.
is what I wanted to see. Yeah.
Okay. So control shift P. You can say, okay, generate,
Got it.
uh,
Found it.
and then you will find the next generate, right? So you can use quick peek or generate UI.
Yeah, I was looking for create because I'm
Uh,
used to that command. It's like, okay, makes sense. Got it.
cool. Okay, so after many amazing years, Angular team said, okay, let's go ahead and add Tailwind support, because before community was doing this with their bare hands. They were adding all the support for Tailwind manually. So now it is supported. So if you want to use Tailwind, go ahead and use it. Of course, we'll be using it because my CSS skills are very bad. Okay, so don't expect much from me. I will just ask my agent to build it a nice UI, or maybe whenever we need some changes on the front end. Cool. And then it says, do we need a backend project? We do need a backend project, and maybe I can just use the existing one. There is already one which is known as API. So let's go ahead and say, okay, I'll be using API for the existing project. So it can add something known as proxy config file, which is very useful. We'll talk about it anyways. And then it asks me, okay, which end-to-end test runner you want. Remember, Playwright was default, but you can choose. You can say, okay, I want Cypress. And if you want to maybe play more risky, you can say, I don't need anything, right? I mean, if you're creating an enterprise project and you think, okay, tests are useless, who cares about it, then just go and say none. But Yeah, we are planning to build an enterprise project. So let's go ahead and with Playwright, right? So it says there are a few more configuration. It says, do you want an inline style? I'll talk about it a little bit. So what do we mean by inline style? Remember the default component which we saw,
Uh-huh.
app.ts,
Yeah.
and then there was a config called style URL.
Uh-huh.
This can be a file, this can be a inline style as well. So
Ooh.
it does supports. So it's saying, okay, do you need inline style? I would say no, because I love to write my styles in a separate file because I don't know how to write a style.
Yeah, I was about to say CSS is not for humans. It's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just kidding, but keeping it separate, it's much clean,
Most of
maybe.
it. Yes.
Yeah. So same with inline template. So you can also have a template URL, or you can say I will write the template inline, but I will again say, okay, no, I want a separate file. And then it says which linter you want to use. So right now ESLint and none, there is only two, but maybe in case you want, you can just go ahead and use any new linter which is available. I'm sure people are very excited about Oxylint right now, and there are so other many different linters available, but ESLinter is the standard default for for now. I mean, I'm not sure like about the future, but let's say in future things change, of course, NX can go ahead and add them as an option as well. Right now, it's yeah, ESLint is available. So I'll just go ahead and say, okay, use ESLint. It says, okay, minimal setup is something where you don't get tests, you get everything in line. So I will say, okay, don't use minimal for now. Port at which the remote application should be served, I will leave it default. So I don't have to worry about it. This is interesting, the prefix part. Hey, Tuna, we have Tuna in the chat.
Yeah, he came said hi a long time ago.
Hey, hi. Uh, so prefix part, again. So I'll go back to the component, right? You remember, like we said, what is a component? It's it's
A
an
reusable piece of code. Yeah.
yeah HTML tag, right? And when you create an HTML tag, it's possible that your HTML tag might conflict with an existing HTML tag. It's possible, right? I mean, if you remember, if you have done React, right?
Yes.
Little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, another hit. Go for it, Santosh.
So in how in React, when you say button, you don't write B small, you write B capital,
Mm, mm.
right? Because of course B with small is actually an HTML tag.
Correct.
So
Yes.
to keep this separate, so Angular uses some different concept, or you can say different way to actually
Thoughtful.
differentiate between the normal HTML tag and the tags we create. So it uses the
Got it.
concept of prefix, which can be anything basically. And
Got it.
this is where the selector name comes into picture. So you see selector. So this is your prefix.
Yeah.
So this is your prefix, which will be applied to any new component you create. And change it. You don't have to keep it tab. I'm not sure, like a lot of projects don't do this. So I'll say, okay, this is hotel management, right? So I'll say HM. Yeah, why not? And it says, okay, do we need server routing? I would say maybe not right now. I mean, let's save it. Do you want to skip test? Yeah, let's keep it for now. Do you need SSR? I don't need SSR because we are talking about a separate API application which has express routes defined for us. I will go ahead and use it. Do you need strict mode? Of course, people love strict mode, right? Just kidding. I mean, it's sometimes it's very hard to work with strict mode, but if we have our Copilot agent available with us, so in case something goes wrong, it can save us. But I will say yes, we need strict mode. For styling, you can choose CSS, SCSS, SAS, less, and I don't know what this guy did. The SAS guy. Everyone is telling me SAS is dead, SAS is dead. Why? No, SAS is not dead. Sorry. Again, PJ, but So go ahead and use a CSS. Uh, Tags, very nice feature. I love this feature, but we'll talk about it later on. For now, let's leave it. Unit test runner. So what you need. So as I said, like it supports vtest, it supports vtest provided by Angular, vtest supported by analog, just or none. I mean, I will keep it vtest analog for now. View encapsulation, just go. I will not worry much about this. I need zoneless application. This is something which I need because all the new apps, it says it does not use zone.js. If you see the description, it says generates an application that does not use zone.js. It's default. It actually defaults to true, and this is only supported in Angular version 21. So let's see what version of Angular we have because we haven't talked about it. So we
Live
have
program.
21. Yeah. So we have Angular 21, which is the latest one, by the way.
Mhm.
So it says it is anyways true. So if even if I say if I don't select it, it's true.
Ooh, fair. Makes sense.
Let's click on generate.
Yay.
And it's done. I think we should have a hotel management app, hotel management end-to-end app, and everything is created. So new project ready within maybe 5 minutes of discussion. I mean, because we decided to talk about all the configurations which are available. Otherwise, it's very quick. We have our proxy config file which says, okay, whenever we use this route slash API, it will redirect my calls to localhost double three, triple three, or 4 times 3, whatever. And let's serve this application. So we know like how to serve. You can again go back to run. You can select the app. You can say serve and select the serve configuration. And it says, okay, it's building it. It's successful. There is no error. And this is it. So we
Very
have
cool.
new app.
That is
So,
awesome.
and what we can do as we are already here is we can delete shop app, or maybe we can keep it.
Yeah, I think I like the fact that it's there because it definitely explains the whole monolith part that we're working on and the mono-repo part. So the fact that we started off with that is a good thing.
Yeah, makes sense. So let's go ahead and commit this code. So we now have a default repository, like maybe a new project, sample project to start with, and we can go ahead and start writing the code on top of it.
Yay.
And we have to still do one thing. We have to still go ahead and push this code on GitHub. So let's do that. I'll go ahead and create a new project. GitHub.com.
So Santosh, I will have to drop in two
Yeah, yeah, sure.
minutes.
Go ahead. Because I just need to commit this code and share the repository. Maybe if people wants to follow along, they can do that. So I'll just create a new
Yes.
repository, choose an owner, and I'll say hotel.
No, I don't think we should call it hotel management because it's a
No?
mono-repo, right?
Yeah.
So we should probably call it like our live stream project or something like that.
Yeah. Let's do that. Live stream uh, code rabbit
Yeah.
because it will be easy for people to find.
Yes.
Okay. And then public, no template, add readme, no jumpstart. Okay. Create repository. And I'll just use this commands. And first let's do git add, right? Because, and I need to commit. Yep. I need to commit to this repository. So I'll say,
I love
setup.
your messages.
Sorry.
I love your comment messages. You're always so thorough.
Oh, yeah, because I was so it's again interesting story. So I generally don't used to care much about my commit messages, and then my principal developer in my previous job, he said, "Why you do this?" And then I realized, okay, it's not good. Okay, something wrong. What went wrong? So operation has timed out. Hotel management. Okay, is everything committed? No, it's not. GPG signing failed. Come on,
Hmm.
signing
Interesting.
failed. Because this is, I just pushed a repository yesterday and this was not an issue. Okay, so maybe I can just use this one. Let's see. Setup mono-repo.
Hello.
Yeah, Rahul. Setup. Mhm. Oh, GPG failed to sign the data.
I think you should just log into GitHub again using the
GH login. But I'm
yeah.
using HTTPS, doesn't matter much. Ah, let's see. We have the session.
Because I think yeah, it's telling you to redo the GPG key, which
Restart the GPG agent. Okay, I'll just restart. Let's see. Check the keys available locally. I mean, I'm just wondering, like for HTTPS, generally it should work. I mean, but okay. Maybe I have this signed commit enabled somewhere, which says there's the log file. Okay. There's a log file which is created on this repository, maybe. Hmm.
I love how you get like one weird error at the end of the stream every time.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's
And
done.
it's a pattern.
Okay.
Yay! Did it go through? I see it says publish branch directly on the right.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay. Okay, it says publish branch. I think it's committed now, so I can just do publish because, yeah, that's the last thing which is needed. And we have our code. Wow. Great. So, okay, so we have
Yay!
our repository available, and yeah, somehow we also got an error. And like, of course, how to fix that error, right? Just ask your agent.
Yes. Every time. Saving us.
Uh, cool. So
Cool. This was
that's it. Yeah. Sorry.
it was amazing. Yeah, I'm so glad we could push it. Uh and I'm very excited about our code the next time we start writing it.
Yeah. We will continue doing this maybe twice a week because yesterday I had something else to take care of, but we'll try to do every Wednesday, Thursday. So we'll see you on a next stream, and I hope you like to learn Angular because it's the best framework. Why you shouldn't be? So
Yes, I agree. Santosh.
yeah. Okay, someone agrees. But yeah, if you want to follow us more, just come again on the next stream, and we'll come with some idea like what we want to build, and we will try to ship tiny features on every stream, so we can actually use some of the features of Angular framework and then build something from scratch.
And
So
pro
see ya.
tip, if
Bye bye,
ever
everyone.
yeah, and if pro
So,
tip, if ever Santosh asks you, React, tell them you've never heard of React. That's what I'm gonna do. Next time Santosh is like, "Hey, React," I'm like, "What? What's React? I don't know what's React."
I just know how to react.
Yeah, that's it.